Hey y'all, welcome to the T-Work podcast, hosted by Banko and me, Adam Moreau. From entrepreneurs and athletes to the rat racers of corporate America and those who refuse to be put in a box, we want to share their stories and understand how they ended up where they are. Success and development come in many shapes and sizes. We want to hear about it all. So grab a drink and pull up a seat. Let's spill some tea and get to it. And welcome back to the T-Work podcast. I'm Adam Moreau with Grant Banko, and today we have Gaige Howard with us. Gaige Howard is a professional baseball player that's played in just about every rank you can imagine so far. Gaige was a Division III walk-on at Kenyon College in middle of nowhere, Ohio, after graduating from high school way out in San Diego. So he took the jump across the country to bear the terrible Midwest weather. Then that's where we eventually met, playing summer ball after Gaige's freshman year at a D3. We met in California. Gaige elected to bet on himself, go to Cabrillo Community College in that kind of San Francisco, Oakland Bay area. Didn't have a great experience there, but so be it. It led him to the University of New Orleans, and that's when Gaige really developed into the player that he is, or he started to shine through for what he could really be. And then, of course, he dealt with the unbelievable COVID season, putting question marks everywhere. Gaige eventually went undrafted out of the University of New Orleans, but then went on to later sign a free agent deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers. After about a year and a half in their organization, he was eventually released after making it as high A. But this past season, he competed with the Schaumburg Boomers of the Frontier League and was an all-star, setting records offensively, leading the team in multiple categories, most notably his unbelievable doubles total. Gaige is a left-handed hitter, hitting outfielder from Carlsbad, California, and we're ecstatic to have him on today. So, Gaige, hopefully
Hey,
I
thanks for
nailed
having
that
me.
intro. I'm
Yeah,
sure
great
I missed some
intro.
stuff along the way, or maybe I messed it up, but I'd love to just pass it over to you and kind of hear your story.
Yeah, Adam, obviously I've known Adam for a long time. Guy that took a chance on me out of junior college. I didn't really have many opportunities as far as where I could go play. I know I wanted to play at the Division I level, and actually moved out to New Orleans and lived with Adam in his or in the guest room and trained with him at Nosby as the shirt that he's wearing right there. And yeah, we got, a lot more physical, or as athletic, or the athletic attributes, or a lot of the things we trained. And then that eventually led me, like, at the end of the summer there, I got like this one-off workout with the head coach at University of New Orleans, and ended up going there, walking on. And then, yeah, I walked on. That's something that is scary, I know, to a lot of people, and especially me going in. There was no guarantees. I think we had 50 guys, and we're cutting down to about 35 or whatever the roster is. They bring in more. And yeah, I made it through the fall. And was feeling good about my play, and started the year on the bench at New Orleans. It's my junior year, and then somebody twisted an ankle, got an opportunity against Rutgers. I remember that was my first college game. 2 for 3, two doubles, two walks, and next thing I know, I start 127 straight at University of New Orleans, get a scholarship. Went through a lot of the ups and downs there, but it's something I'm super grateful for, and one of the best experiences of my life. Met a lot of lifelong friends there. It was great to have Adam while he was down in the New Orleans area to train with, and just have a guy that is, as your story. You've been to some different schools, dealt with the ups and downs of baseball, and just trying to put yourself in a position to be as successful as you can every day. And there's a lot of times, a lot of uncertainty, throughout the process, and just how do you deal with that, and get yourself in the best, mental state to perform, and get yourself, ready to be fully present every day. and just that's all you can focus on. That's all you can control. And it's something that is, it's an ongoing process. You're always getting better at it. And it's just like any of the arcs or, graphs to success, right? You're going to improve, and then there's going to be a portion, where you're below where you used to be and you plateau, and then you can make another leap. And, definitely for me, that's something that I've really taken full advantage of, is just how can I be the best version of myself every single day, and ready to perform, whether that's the off season or in season. To me, it's all the same. In the off season, for sure, there is definitely a lot more time to enjoy things with your family and enjoy things with your friends. But, when you're doing this as a job, every day matters. So showing up, whether it's, the first day of the off season, or, the middle of December, or whether it's, the season's right around the corner, you're always fighting that battle, and getting yourself as, ready to go as possible to perform every single day. So that way, when the season comes, you're fully prepared to do the same.
Yeah, man. And I love that you already brought up like focusing on being on the best version of yourself, because I obviously have known the story of you or heard the stories of you when you're 4'11" or whatever, your freshman year of high school. So like all you can worry about is being the best version of a child competing against 18-year-olds. And then like you don't even have an opportunity to even showcase who you are as a player until your senior year of high school, because you were so small for so long. And then ultimately it forces you to make the jump across the country, betting on yourself to go play at a D3 school. And you had a good freshman year, not a great freshman year, but you had a solid freshman year. And then I'm sure like that summer when you got exposed to better competition coming out of the D3 ball in the Midwest, like it was another opportunity. You were at that crossroads. I remember talking to you about that a lot. And like obviously you've made a theme in your life of like taking risks, betting on yourself, and always knowing that if you can prepare, you can have a say in what's going to happen. So like I know like there's so many different ways we can go with this, and like the pro ball is the really exciting stuff, but like just getting to witness you making that decision to leave Kenyon to explore what else is out there. Like to me, I'll never forget that moment, seeing it when we were on the field in Healdsburg, and like you told me you were actually going to do it. Like I'd love if you can just kind of like take us through that thought process. Like where you, it was like you were finally at a place that did believe in you, but you knew you wanted more.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of told the story. Yeah, in high school, I was really undersized. I think, yeah, my freshman year, I was 4'11", 5 feet tall, 130 pounds. And for, every year I kept waiting to grow, kept waiting to grow. And, I think I was 5'3" my sophomore year, 5'6" my junior year, and then about 5'9" my senior year. And I remember having conversations with my coaches after like tryouts my junior year, and they asked me if I wanted to play on JV. And I did not want to play on JV. I wanted the opportunity to be on varsity, and they said that it might not be a lot of playing time, and I accepted that. And I just remember being out there every single day after practice. We had some guys that I looked up to at the time, some guys that went on to, play high level Division 1. And, I wanted to be around those guys. I wanted to compete with them. And, I always had this belief in myself, for sure, regardless of my size, that, and any given day I could win that day. And, my junior year, I ended up getting 2 at-bats. So I remember I stayed after practice every day. I was in the weight room, training very hard, and only getting 2 at-bats. That's not the ideal situation, especially as most people know now in the recruiting process. The junior year has become the biggest year. That's where you get offers and you get looks, especially if you want to go Division 1. And that's what I wanted to do. Kind of realized, after not playing at all my junior year, that, I was going to need to go a different route. And so I continued to work, and, went out and found some camps that had a lot of Division 3 schools that were present at the camps and knew that that was a level that I had a travel ball coach, and he said, you know what, this guy, yeah, he can play Division III baseball for sure, absolutely. And you know, John, his name was John Lukens. He believed in me, and I was, you know, I felt good about that. Kept training and went out to these camps and did as well as I could. And Kenyon was a school that was super stoked on me, or they were very, you know, engaging, and they liked what I had to offer, and they saw potential in me. And so, you know, I felt, took a visit out there and enjoyed it. And had, you know, had taken care of business in the classroom. So I put myself in a position that I, you know, could go play at a multitude of schools. It was going to come down to like my athletic ability based on the way that I'd taken care of my academics. And so they took a chance on me. I went out there, and I remember when I showed up, I was like, you know, 2 inches taller and, you know, like 10 pounds heavier. I was about like 5'11" by the time I showed up, like 170. And then that year just took a leap and ended up getting to like 6'1", 195, 190. And so things started to change on the baseball field for me. Playing at that level ended up being a great, you know, kind of introduction to college baseball because I got to play as a freshman, which was huge. You know, there's a lot of opportunity to learn and improve as a player when you get the opportunity to actually be on the field and go through the ups and downs of a season. And at that point, you know, I'm 18 years old. I'm playing against, you know, grown men, guys 21, 22, you know, for the first time, and they have a lot more experience in this game. So I think for me, that was a big thing, you know, just starting to figure out a little bit about pitch sequencing, a little bit about, you know, guys' routines, how they get themselves ready to go. I was just very committed, and I loved baseball, and I wanted to push myself to the highest level. So I remember, you know, going late nights after studying, going down there, getting my workouts in, and you know, busting my tail to get an opportunity to be on the field. And I remember that was a great moment for me when they told me, "Hey, Gaige, you're going to hit leadoff, and you're going to start opening day as a freshman." And so I was super excited about that. And the season had its ups and downs. I remember I got off to a hot start and then went into, you know, a cold spell, especially back in the Midwest weather. That was a factor for the first time, dealing with the cold and playing in the cold. And then, you know, finished the season strong, and I knew that, you know, hey, I want to get drafted. That was always my dream. I wrote it down since I was a little kid. I wanted to, you know, play affiliated pro baseball. I don't even think I knew those terms existed at that point in time, but I knew that I wanted to, you know, play for the Padres or the Dodgers or somebody. And so I reached out to all these summer leagues, just sending them emails like, "Hey, I'm an outfielder here," and I end up in the California Collegiate League with Adam, and you know, I go out there and just you know, what an experience. I'm out in Auburn, California, and definitely start to pick the brains of the guys that had, you know, played Division I. Adam, you're coming from Dayton. And there were some other guys that were, you know, playing Division I, and, you know, just started to really try and learn from these guys. How can I get better? And that was always my mindset, was just how can I become a better baseball player? And so, you know, for me during that time, I remember I was driving from Auburn into Sacramento to work out every day. And then I was coming back and forth and, you know, playing the games, and ended up having a pretty good summer, you know, hit well, and, you know, started to figure things out as the summer went, and got some good feedback, especially from guys like Adam. Other guys on my team were like, "Hey, dude, like you could go, you could do it," you know, and I didn't really even know what the best route was. So, but you know, kind of heard about junior college, and I was playing up in Northern California, so took a look at a couple of them and just decided, hey, like got one chance at this, and this is the best route for me, is to leave Kenyon and to go, you know, bet on myself and go play junior college baseball, and especially to see if I could get an opportunity to play Division I.
Yeah, man. I saw Banko starting to nod there a lot, like the writing down, like the goals. He's all over that stuff. He's ready, so I'm gonna
Well,
let him go.
yeah, I was going to take a step back. I mean, you mentioned two things that kind of stood out to me. You mentioned your junior year, your high school coach is having that tough conversation. He's like, "Hey, you JV or varsity," and then you had a travel ball coach say, you could play D3, which for a lot of guys that are playing baseball, like that's a hard conversation to hear as a kid coming up through high school that wants to play Division I baseball, that wants to go to the next level and everything. D3, even from my experience, like it's a hard conversation and realization to hear from a coach, but you accepted that and sort of built on that. How did you, like, was it your parents? What kind of helped you be prepared for those conversations, from those hard conversations, and be open to those ideas from those coaches?
I think that, yeah, the playing time was tough. You know, that's just always tough. You want to be on the field. It was just the reality, was that I wasn't going to be on the field. So to me, it kind of flew over my head in a way. It was like, okay, I'm not going to play, but I never really had the mindset that I wasn't going to play, if that made sense. You know, I thought I deserved to play, and I was willing to work every single day as hard as I possibly could, for the opportunity that I might play. And for D3, for me, it was like one of two things. I either go play college baseball and I give up, or I go play college baseball, and at that point in time, there was a few guys every year getting drafted out of Division III, and why not me? That's kind of what I thought. And it gave me an opportunity to keep playing a game that I was really passionate about, and that I believed in myself a lot, and knew that, just, I think, from my parents, what my parents instilled in me a lot was just, if you're willing to work for it and you're willing to go all in on something, see it through, and don't give up. And that gives you the best chance to be successful. And so I think that both of those things, definitely them believing in me, that I was willing to put in all the work I needed to, and that kind of conditioned me to have those conversations. And also at the same time, in the back of my mind was like, if I get my foot in the door, man, I'm gonna bust it wide open. So I think that it was both of those, things were going on at the same time.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's a good perspective to have for a lot of, I think, younger athletes coming up, and realizing that you don't have to be at the big D1s. You don't have to be at the big programs to make it to the level. It's the work you put in behind it. You could end up at a big D1 and SEC school and not put the work in and not get there. And I just relate to your story because I was 5'4", 100 pounds my freshman year of high school. I grew a little bit earlier, but I never got the weight that you got. I ended 6'2", 170 in high school. Never got above that though, really. So Adam knows I struggled with the weight gain part of it. So I'm a little jealous you got above that on that side.
Dude, like even in my time knowing Gage, it was nuts. Like when I met him, he was whatever, yeah, 6 feet 190, and then he comes back from JUCO to stay with me to train at Nosby, and Gage is 6'2", 210. I'm like, what happened? Like where was this for me? I was pissed, honestly, because I'm looking back on it like, no, if I had this, I could make my comeback right now. But I had to move on, new career, no longer about me. It was about getting engaged to the next level. And like thankfully he bet on me. And maybe I sold him too hard or something, but it seemed like it worked out okay.
No, that was huge. It was huge to have you in my corner. That was at a point in time where there was, not a lot of people in my corner, man. And so having you there, and I think it was kind of one of those perfect timing type things. Like, you were getting into the training. This was a perfect opportunity to get a guy that you believed in and that you knew could play at the Division I level. Um, and I was hungry, and I was ready to go, and my back was against the wall. So I mean, I felt, I was fired up for any opportunity, and it ended up just kind of being the perfect storm. But yeah, for me, it was crazy because my dad, I guess he grew really late. And I remember growing up that, everyone used to tell me my uncle was, 5'10". And then once I was 5'8", I realized, he's not 5'10", he's 5'8". So then I started to get a little worried about how tall I was going to be. And then eventually, eventually I just kept growing, and I just kept growing, and it was, I'm very lucky, blessed, and kind of best of both worlds. My dad's tall, and he's a skinnier guy, and then my mom's side of the family very like well built, and ended up just getting both halves of it. And I'm very lucky for that.
Yeah, lucky you. Only if you had your sister's speed.
Yeah, she flies.
But dude, so we obviously go through your we go through that like point of JUCO. Like you made it in a sense, right? You were always chasing D1 and you finally had the opportunity for a fall, but like nothing more than that. And like, but when you finally did make the team, one of the things that you did that I loved so much, like kind of like the never forget where you come from kind of deal. I remember you said we had like 50 kids. I know for a fact you had 43. And the reason I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
is because you wore number 43 your first year at UNO because you viewed yourself as the 43rd guy on the roster. Like
Yeah.
they didn't want me here. They didn't like I'm gonna rep that. Like that's who I'm bottom of it all. Like nobody wants me here. Nobody believed in me. But you know what? I made it. Doesn't matter if I'm number 43. I can
Yeah.
still
Pretty soon 43 was hitting in the middle of the order. So it was definitely a nice sight to see that in the lineup. And that's something, yeah, that was they gave me 43. I was okay, you know. I loved 43 for that reason, was just, yeah, I'm the last guy here. I really was the last guy here. It was about a week before school that I ended up committing, if you could call it even that. And playing that fall, I remember, there's a lot of pressure, especially when you bet on yourself and you don't know if you're going to make the team. Um, getting out there, I'm away from home and all of that. And I remember I started slow. I was like 2 for 15 to start the fall. And, I turned to one of my buddies, Robert Fabello. He's one of the best teammates I've ever had. And he was also walking on. He's a catcher. And we turned to each other. I think he was like 0 for 12. We turned to each other. We're like, hey, we better start hitting or we're going to be bagging groceries at Rouse's over there. Like, like we were, we could feel it for sure. And you felt it every day, but we just stuck to it. And I believed, I think that was the thing, was just the belief, like, hey, this is going to turn. And next thing I know, I think you were there, Adam, that we played our fall game at LSU. That was really cool. I got a hit. That was a big moment, and for sure building confidence, getting a hit against LSU, you really believe in yourself. Like, these guys are the best guys in the country. If I can get a hit against them, I can play with anybody. And yeah, ended up hitting like 300 on the dot or something like that in the fall, and they took me. And from there too, then it was super. I kept wearing the 43, but it's hard to be satisfied when you want to get on the field now, So then coming back for the spring, I remember I was on a tear. I was, hitting really well and playing really well, and um, just wanted an opportunity, and it didn't come as soon as I thought it would, as quickly as it would, but ended up working out perfectly.
but what's so crazy is where you got that opportunity is also because one of your lifelong friends, like now, like a guy you love, Pierce Howard, went down,
Yes, yeah,
right? Like
exactly. Yeah, one of my
Mr.
best friends. Yeah.
Mr. UNO baseball. He was the best player on the team,
Yep.
had started every game since his freshman year, like ended up setting what, the total hits record or something
Yeah, I
like
think his
UNO?
record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you never would have gotten to play if Pierce didn't go down. Like
Yeah.
it's
I know. It's
crazy how that stuff
crazy,
happens.
crazy how it works. And considering that, like, 80% of our games, the rest of the way, we hit right next to each other, or, 2-3 or 2-4 or whatever, but usually right, right back to back. And so that was wild. And yeah, him going down is just freakish that it happened when it did. Because I remember I was feeling really confident based on how I was practicing and playing in the inner squads about how I could play in the game. And still, like, you've been waiting your whole life to play a real Division I game, and now you're waiting even longer, and you've made the team and all that. It gets difficult, for sure. And I'm thankful that I was ready to go that day. I remember it was on a Friday night. He tweaked his ankle, and I went in, I pinch ran, and we didn't know the next day whether or not he was going to be healthy. I knew that since they had put me in, and then I went out and played right field, that if he wasn't ready to go tomorrow, I was going to play. And he ends up showing up in a walking boot, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going today. And then yeah, I think he was back like a week later too. So it was literally like I got my foot in the door, and by then they shifted things around and played the rest of the way. So um, even after that year, though, I mean, as you know, a lot of DHing that year, and had to
Yeah.
make another jump because I had a great season. The draft was kind of quiet, because of offensively, I put up, good numbers that should have got me a lot of recognition, but I was DHing. And so I knew the level of athlete I am and that I could play the outfield at a high level, and I just had to invest in um, really taking over learning the basics and just, really, putting my, nose in the dirt and getting after it in the outfield. And that was the whole goal the next year was I'm going to start in the outfield, knowing that that would give me a better opportunity to play at the next level.
I thought your story was gonna go the Lou Gehrig scenario route, if you're familiar with that. So Lou Gehrig got his initial opportunity with the Yankees. The guy ahead of him said, "I have a headache and I'm gonna sit out this game," and that was how Lou Gehrig broke out, and he never sat again. And it was basically like the most expensive Advil that was ever taken by a player.
Yeah, Wally
So I
Pitt.
thought eh, there you go. I forgot the name, and that makes sense why I did. I want to kind of take a step back though. I mean, so wearing 43, 2 for 12 in the fall. I'm gonna ask a baseball question. Are you superstitious?
I don't think so. Not very. I'll step on
Really?
the line before the game. Yeah, I put in too much work to be superstitious. I'm really, I wouldn't say that I'm superstitious, but I'm very, very focused on my routine before a game.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so
mentally, I want to be in a certain place.
got it. All right. So yes and no. The reason I asked this question is, and Adam knows, I was playing summer ball my sophomore year with Adam, and I started off the summer, I think, 2 for like 26, and was not playing well. And we are already halfway through the season. I was basically playing every other game because I couldn't find a hit at all. We get into a rain delay, and I'm like, I'm really craving a Mountain Dew. So I drive to a gas station. All they have is a liter of Mountain Dew. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm buying a liter of Mountain Dew. Drink the liter of Mountain Dew during the game and go like 4 for 4. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm drinking Mountain Dew every single game now. And like ended up hitting really well and playing every game the rest of the summer. So that's why I asked if you're superstitious, because I kind of related to that story.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have any Mountain Dew I don't have anything like that. But I know that you guys are super big into the routine, and this is something that I've more got into in professional baseball, but I am very, very dialed in on what I do every day before a game and then my nighttime routine, and I'll stick to it for 6 months or the whole season. I mean, if it's spring training too, so well, that's 7.5 months sometimes, depending when you get out there. So for me, the day starts with I just get up and I get my journal and I write a bunch of positive things and in a in the present tense. So things that I want to achieve, whether it's baseball wise or personally, I say that I have those in the present tense, or I am this, or I am X. Um, and then from there, I do a quick 15-minute yoga um, routine. That's a lot of it is just conditioned to like take out a lot of the strain that my body has from what I do every day. And then after that, I like to meditate, and I do like kind of a creative meditation. So slow the mind down, and then I visualize somewhere that I'm very at peace at. And then from there, I'll go into visualization. And for me, that works the best. So like if we have a new series coming up and We, I know who we're playing. I know where we're playing. I'll just visualize myself in the box, facing a righty, throwing me heaters, seeing myself hitting it the other way in the gap, to center, to the pull side gap. And then breaking balls for the same change ups. And then I'll see a lefty. I'll do the same thing. And I just kind of see myself having success. And then that way, when I step in the box that night, I know that I've done this before, or my brain has that stimulus that, I've had this success before. And that's something that really the visualization, the meditation, that part of it is really something I took over this past year, but that's been building over the last few years since I've been in professional baseball, just how I get my routine right and how I get my mindset and my mentality right every day to perform at the highest level.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny that Banko brought up superstitions because it's funny. You said you're not superstitious at all, and I was about to be like, whoa, hold up, pause. But you talked about it as in terms of routine. I was like, okay, fair. To each his own, word it however you want. And like I think like all this, like, because that's always what I've witnessed from you is like your supreme control over what enables you to be successful. And you won't let anyone take that away from you. And I think that that's really admirable. Like you know what works and you're going to go to all ends of the earth to do it. Like when you would come in to hit and you're saying like this is exactly what I need. It's going to be 5 to 7 reps and then we're going to move on. And we're not going to go more than 6 rounds. We're going to take at least 4. It's going to be a max of 6. Like it's like knowing all that, like it gives you so much again, just using the word control. Like to me, I can assess that as like you're checking a box. If you check the box, you're moving yourself one step closer to the success that you envision. And like I think that like that comes with a very mature athlete. Like, yeah, there's the other side that like the Manny Ramirez's of the world that say like, nah, like whatever, man, like just it's all good. Like I'm just gonna show up, I'm gonna dominate. But like
Right.
those dudes have their routines too. You just being such a cerebral guy have taken control of it and put it in a system that is now like the Gaige Howard system.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So in that regard, yeah, if that's superstitious, I don't worry about stepping on the line or anything like that. But I have it down to a T. Even my teammates this past year, they would joke with me about it is I have it down to a T with my prep work, like what I'm doing before the game. I'm doing the same thing every game the whole year. Um, and that's something that I felt really good about with this past season was that it was just about that, controlling all of that and then taking the same swing every day too. Like a lot of it before was chasing this or chasing that a little bit. And it's just as you mature and can find a better system for doing things, you just trust the process in a way. And you're going to be hot, you're going to be cold, still do the same thing every day. Um,
So you
Well,
said you
oh, I who
can
is
I
it?
go?
Who wants
Can I
it?
go?
You
I mean, I
go.
was gonna build on that. I mean, you said you basically built this up for like the last year. You really honed in on that. When did it actually start where you're like, hey, I really need to focus on a routine pre-game, morning? When did that actually like trigger in your head? Like, I need to actually start thinking about this. Was it just a year ago, or did it start at high school, college? Where did that kind of start?
I think that maybe I had it in high school a little bit. I know in college for sure when Adam and I were working together, we had routines started to get together. I think it was kind of separate. Like this past year and a half, I would say it's gone the mental routine. It's been a lot about like mentality, and that is something that was probably present in the other routines, but now it's very like tangible and focused on every single day. In college, a lot of it was physical, but we had our routine. I would go into NOSPI the night before a series. We would hit, we would work on X, Y, and Z that we wanted to that week. There'd be times where I'm swinging it well, and maybe I'm there for short time, and then there'd be times where I'm working through things and I'd be in there for a couple hours, and Adam's hungry, I'm hungry, we're ready to get out of there, but we're still trying to figure something out before this series this weekend. And so I think in college was starting to be like I was focused on getting, what I was doing the day before, like eating well, how my sleep, stuff like that. Definitely, it's just another monster when it's 6 days a week for 6 months. I think that's what I kind of realized after. I mean, there's a routine with everything, whether it's your throwing, whether, it's your hitting, you're getting your body right, your weightlifting program, everything in my realm is kind of routine based, and I know what I'm going to do, weeks ahead, I guess, if that makes sense. But for sure, the mental side is something that when the margins get smaller, that's something that I've really focused on and dialed in as much as I could.
And where did that sort of spring up, the mental side? Where did that kind of thought process come from to start focusing more on that routine?
Well, it first started with I would just I started journaling and doing yoga, and I just wanted to have my mind in a good place to perform. It was just honestly, hearing guys talk, hearing about. I think that's something that in a way, something I took from LeBron in a way is he talks about it a lot, or Tom Brady. Like these guys are just they're not only are they physically ready to perform every day, but their mental capacity to perform is equally as impressive to me, especially when you do it for 20 years and there's ups, there's downs. And so I just kind of taking from that, reading on it, just reading. I remember I read some books like Atomic Habits and Chop Wood, Carry Water. That's probably my favorite book of all time. And it's just about the process. And so those are controllable things. And I guess something I hadn't really put much thought into when I was 20, 21 was just how important it was to mentally be prepared for success every day, as well as physically, especially in a game where you're going to fail a lot.
Yeah, Adam just ran away. But no, I haven't actually heard of that Chop Wood book. Yeah, no, I see that you put on the light, Adam. I need to look into that one. I've heard of Atomic Habits, obviously. But
You've
no,
never
I'll
done
definitely.
chop wood, carry water, Banko?
I've never even heard of that.
Wow.
I
It's a
know,
good
it's
one.
surprising.
It's a short read too. It's easy. It's awesome though. It's great.
Yeah, that really
Yeah.
surprises me. I even throw that in some text messages occasionally. I know I've sent that to Gage, and I
Oh,
actually didn't even
interesting.
know how much he liked it, but I've thrown the occasional chop wood, carry water. I guess we've never talked about it. That's crazy.
No, we don't really talk about books
Yeah, we'll
for the
start our
most
own book
part.
club.
Yeah, we need to do that. Um, no, that's good perspective to have, and I guess surrounding yourself and getting to the next level. I think that's a piece that a lot of people don't understand is like the influence that people have around you and who you're surrounding yourself with. So, I mean, obviously you were at the D3 school, then you went JUCO, then you went D1. You were leveling up your relationships and the people you're around, and obviously that made you better as a player and as a person as well. And then you get to the affiliates and get drafted and all that. Do you think that those people, I mean, you mentioned Adam helping you a lot, but do you just think not even people that are actually influencing you directly, like Adam was helping you out in training and stuff, but just being around those players or at that level and seeing what they're doing has benefited you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you can learn a lot um, from high level players. I think that as well, like just the people that you surround yourself with, it matters so much. Like you want to be surrounded by people with good energy, bringing good energy to you. A lot of people, you want to surround yourself with people that you look up to, that you want attributes that they have. Um, and I think that that's honestly what drew Adam and I's relationship at the beginning. I was very much a young kid in college, and he had a lot of systems. He was equally as routine based, I would say, in his getting ready for the game and life. And so I was drawn to that, and I remember I would just ask him questions like, okay, why are you doing this? Not interrogating him or questioning, just more like, how can I, like, what is he, why is he doing this? Like, what is, what does this help? And I think that that's like just curiosity, I guess, is where I was coming from, and wanting to understand, okay, like this is how an adult prepares himself to play at a high level. And I think that that was a good intro, and that there's been a ton of people, and especially the people that help are around me and support me now. It's the same thing. I want to be around people that have good perspective and are going, in the right direction, and that I can learn from, and they inspire me. I think that's huge. You want to be around, you want to inspire others, and you also want to be around others that inspire you.
Adam does. I know, Adam, you want to go a different route. Let me ask one more question, then I'll let you go that different route.
Before that, let me just say thank
Yeah.
you to Gaige for the kind words about me. Yeah.
You're just pumping up Adam all day today, so you're just making him feel real good. I gotta avoid
Thanks,
him for a
man.
couple days now. You've mentioned it at all different levels, and like taking initiative, asking questions, adding questions to Adams, other players, but then also reaching out to summer ball teams. Like, they weren't reaching out to you, you were taking initiative. Where did you, like, that's not natural. People don't just do that. People don't feel like they can do that. They feel uncomfortable having those conversations, asking questions. They feel like they're a burden. Where did you kind of learn that and like have the confidence to sort of take that initiative?
Yeah, that is honestly, that's a great question. I think that I just had that in a way. Like my parents, I think they definitely, talking with them were like, all right, well then why don't you just send an email to these people? And I remember I did that for so many schools in college. So I was used to it, and I was like very used to not hearing back or anything. And there was one team responded to me, and it was the Auburn Wildcats in the CCL. That was the only team that got back to me, other than like maybe a automatic reply, but like an actual reply and opportunity. So I was very lucky that that happened. Yeah, it's tough. Like I don't really know. I think I've always had a lot of confidence, and I wasn't afraid to get rejected, especially in Division 3. I know that it was known amongst people that I was friends with there that I wanted to play affiliated baseball. I wanted to play in the MLB. I think that a lot of people thought that's ridiculous. I remember when I was 5'3", I believed that I would do the same. And, I just didn't care if you were believing in me or not. I was gonna give it all I had, and I could live with that. I think that, that's intimidating to some people to have that much belief in yourself and confidence. And definitely I think that as you mature, it's looked at as a positive thing to have that belief. But I think it's definitely something that there were times, yeah, where people would, make fun of me or um, poke at me for those beliefs and that confidence. But I was willing to accept that. If I could, get an opportunity and felt like it was coming.
You certainly never lack confidence, and I mean that as the best way possible. Like, yeah, we've had our fair share of like messing with each other on that, but like that's another one of your enviable qualities is you have never doubted that you are going to be a Major League Baseball player. And I know that's why you still play today. Of course,
Yeah.
you love baseball and you'll play baseball as long as you can. But the real driving force is, yeah, one day you're going to play in Petco Park or in Comerica or Yankee Stadium. Like that's why you're doing this. And like I think that's so cool. Like you're in your mid 20s now, like, yeah, you were forced into the indie ball route, but so be it. That's just another stepping stone on the way. Like you obviously proved that you were an all-star this year in an extremely good independent league. Like you've never been one to shy away from the cards that you've been dealt. And with that, you've always believed you can win whatever hand you have. Like it's
Yeah.
very cool. It's very cool, Gage. And I don't know if you recognize like how powerful that is, but it's a quality you should be proud of.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so now I messaged this to Banko too, because this is a place I've wanted to go since kind of the beginning of the talk. Um, is a time when you like didn't have control. And to me, that was um or one of the major times is like when you got appendicitis, like you finally worked your way into the lineup with the Dodgers. Like you're doing great in the complex, like you go to Rancho, you're starting to like you've got these awesome opportunities
Yeah.
and like you're finally in the lineup and then like of all things appendicitis and then that sidelines you like no control over any of it and then it's just a crazy uphill battle to get back. Like how'd you deal with like something like when you're such a control oriented athlete, like all of a sudden when the control is taken away, like how'd you cope?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Yeah, that was crazy. Finally worked my way. I'm playing 5 times a week in Rancho. Um, which that was awesome, to finally work myself into that role, made it out of the complex. I've been playing pretty good baseball for about a year at that point in the Dodgers system. Um, and boom, appendicitis. Um, yeah, I mean, at first I had this pain in my stomach and I just kept playing and feeling bad. And I still had my opportunity. And then eventually I just had like a fever. I had to go to the hospital and I had a perforated appendix. So it was like leaking into my intestines and I played on it for like 10 days. And they took it out and they said, hey, we're gonna have to do emergency surgery. Boom. Baseball, obviously, very much a core oriented sport. I'm out 6 to 8 weeks under like the full rehab of that. And yeah, I mean, it was tough. You see your buddies playing, having success, you're on the sidelines. Yeah, I guess just I controlled what I could control, and that was just recovering and getting myself. I think at that point, it was all about just getting back on the field as soon as possible. And I had an opportunity to go play in Arizona, like right at the end of the year, kind of on a rehab assignment. And I remember when I got back on the field, I definitely didn't feel as explosive running or anything, but the skill kind of takes over at that point and had some success playing in the games and then the season finished up and from there they let me stay in Arizona and I went to like the movement camp or the instructs it's like instructional league. They have like guys just working out there and I was there to like continue recovering from my appendicitis and my surgery, my appendectomy. And so I stayed there for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, they said, hey, man, we love the way you work and we'd love for you to stay the rest of the camp. It was only 2 more weeks, it was a month long. And so I ended up, coming to work every day, just working my butt off and finished the camp. And they actually named me the movement camp position player of the year, which is more of like a process oriented award in the Dodgers system that year. And it was something I was really proud of, was just that the way that I went about my business, taking care of what I could control, and then, making it a positive, is that, that I got some recognition for just how good my process was and for my attitude as well. I just try to stay positive. I'm living the dream, right? I'm making money, I'm playing baseball, I'm playing for the best organization. And so I just tried to stay focused on that kind of thing and just take it a day at a time. There was definitely days where I really wanted to do more than that what they would let me, and that was tough. But I'm very thankful for the guys like T-Mill. He was the guy that was overseeing everything I was doing, and the other JT, the other guys on the Dodgers, rehab and strength and conditioning staff, that and their help of getting me healthy again. But even after you have a surgery, that's the crazy part, is that you're not healthy yet. So you really have a lot more work to do. Even once you're cleared, there's so much more work to do to get back to where you were before that. And that's tough as somebody that's been lucky with a lot of good health. Getting back is difficult. You're hungry for it, and it's a slow process because your body's just trying to recover, and it's been invaded by a foreign object and whatnot. So I think that was something I didn't realize how long it would take before I was actually at where I was before the surgery, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, Banko, I can keep going on all this rehab stuff. I don't know if there's something you want to hop in with.
Not yet. I definitely can relate to it from my freshman year, but you can take it for now.
All right, cool. So, Gage, then you eventually do like make it back. You're feeling healthy, you go into spring training, and like I know you and I had been talking. It sounds like there are some like really good opportunities on the table, but there's also the nature of the beast. You were an undrafted free agent. You're not a prospect. It doesn't matter what your skill is. Like in the grand scheme of things, you're a little bit older for like the level of pro baseball you were at. And like it's a business. So like eventually like you get caught in a situation where you're not getting to play every day, and eventually comes the time where you're no longer a Dodger. And like can you walk us through that? Like you had the opportunity that you had been chasing for so long. And I'm sorry to like tug on the heartstrings or whatever, but obviously like you achieved like another major step in that dream that you had been chasing for so long. And then they just had to say like, "Hey Gage, thanks for everything you've done." Like, sorry to say, but you're no longer going to be with us.
Yeah. Yeah, probably one of the highlights that happened just before that too was I got called up to play in a spring training game with the big league Dodgers. I remember we played the Cubs, and that was probably one of the best experiences to pinch hit in that game. I remember, Dave Roberts, "Hey, Gage, get ready to go. You're hitting here in the ninth." And, Dansby Swanson's playing short for the Cubs. And just a cool experience to be on that field with, that level of play. Um, and yeah, then break camp, which is always, as guys know in the business, that's a big, especially as an undrafted free agent, that's a big thing is to break camp and you're going to affiliate. But I was going back to Rancho. For me, was just okay. They said, "Hey, we don't know how much you're going to play down there, but just make the most of your opportunity, get ready to go. And, if somebody goes down at a higher level, boom, you're gonna get an opportunity." Okay, sweet, sounds good. Went down there. I think I started one game of the opening weekend, one of my worst games as a professional player. Then I think I get one more start, go 1 for 4. We come home from a road trip. Hey, we just got word that they're cutting down the rosters under the new CBA or whatever, and it's official, so we're gonna have to release you. And I was, I guess bummed, but at the same time, it's just on to the next. I was thankful for sure for all the opportunity that the Dodgers gave me, especially letting me start my pro career, and just had the belief that this was for the best and this is like how the story's supposed to go. And that I was something I was very proud of myself. The next I was just up in Rancho Cucamonga, so I moved out all my stuff, got all my, baseball stuff, drove home to San Diego. Next day, I'm in the gym with my trainer, and we're getting rolling for the next opportunity. And for me at that point, I didn't know what it was, but had some good connections within the Dodgers, and they ended up um, referring me to some indie ball clubs, and ended up getting an opportunity to go play with the Schaumburg Boomers a couple weeks later. And then next thing I know, I'm on my way out to Chicago. And I was just really hungry at that point in time, especially as the season had just started. And you put in all that work in the off season. You come back from an appendectomy, you're working your tail off 6 days a week to play the season. And so for me, it was, hey, let's find an opportunity where there's potential to get 300 at bats. It's something I hadn't quite had yet in the professional ranks. and see how everything plays. And over that 2 weeks, based on how spring training went, I knew there was a couple things I wanted to work on swing wise. And so kind of hammered those home and was like, hey, these are the positions I need to be in order to play in the big leagues. And so I'm going out there and I'm sticking to these positions, whether they're comfortable or not, and ended up having my best season yet as a professional player. And, kind of turned another situation that was difficult into a positive. And, now in the off season this year, looking for any opportunity to get back to an affiliate ball club and um, continue the climb to the big leagues, or whether that be, abroad in Korea, Japan, Taiwan. Love to play at the highest level possible.
Yeah, man. Thanks for going through that. I know it's a funky one. And it's weird to say that like getting fired is just like another part of the job in baseball,
It
but
is,
like
yeah, no, I mean,
in all seriousness, it is. Like, I mean, it's part of it. Like any given day you can have that pink slip.
totally.
And
It's something that
thankfully,
it happens, man. It's totally a part of the business. And I think it was something that before it happened, I was worried about. There was some level of fear or anxiety about, man, I really don't want to get released. After it happened, it's no longer there. It was a very freeing experience in a way. It's just nothing really changes from this day to the next day. It's like you're undergoing the same process. So, um, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, and you're just on your journey, whether or not you're employed by the Dodgers or by the Boomers. You have the opportunity to continue to get better. And when you're ready, when you're good enough to play in the big leagues, I'm positive you'll get the opportunity to.
Yeah, I think a cool part of that story was your perspective of saying, I mean, you got the news and you're like, all right, on to the next morning you were training. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be bummed and do nothing for the next week or two. You immediately got to work again, which is a cool thing to hear. That a lot of people I don't think take into account and how hard that might have been. Um, do you think, and then you mentioned it being kind of freeing, you weren't worried about it anymore. It happened, you went and played in Chicago, you said best year in pro ball yet. Do you think that kind of happening and you not worrying about being released anymore kind of helped you loosen up and freely play and sort of helped you play a little bit better, just having that perspective?
I think it was just another opportunity um, to live by what I had committed myself to, and that was just to be disciplined, regardless of how I feel every day. I have stuff that I'm accountable for to do and to get better. And so I think in that regard, it was the biggest moment yet for me to be disciplined through a difficult process. So it was like, yeah, of course the next day I'm bummed and um I want to um not go work out or whatever, have these feelings. But it was regardless of how I felt, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do what I need to do in the morning. I'm going to get into the gym early. I'm going to do all the movements I do before, I work out. And then I'm going to work out, I'm going to hit, and then we're going to do it again tomorrow. And that's just the discipline of what I'm trying to achieve and who I want to be, regardless if it's a baseball player or a business person. That's something that I'm committed to doing in any realm that I'm fully invested in. And right now that realm is baseball. And in the future, at some point, everyone has to stop playing. So it's something I'm looking to carry over into, all facets of my life.
So are there certain things like besides the meditation or like your daily mobility, um, like what are other things that go beyond the baseball world that you've been able to incorporate into your routine? Like, so you say like, baseball's not there forever. Of course, you're going to do it as long as you possibly can. Are there other routines or like daily vitamin type things that you've implemented that you feel have benefited you or something that you would even recommend to somebody else?
Yeah, I would say that I think that a lot of the curiosity for all of these daily vitamins and stuff like that came from my desire to be the best baseball player I could be. And after doing them, I realized that it was making me a lot better person, a better son, a better brother, just a more consistent person. And so for me, I do believe that regardless, like, I believe in like affirmations or training your subconscious to help you or to pull for you in a way, or training your mind to, when something is negative, you know my brain works for me. So I'm gonna, when I have a negative thought, I'm gonna find that winning feeling and visualize myself happy or successful. And I think that a lot of it is just the curiosity. So you play with different things. For me, a big one is like being grateful. I think being grateful coincides with, you can't be in a bad mood if you're grateful for what you have. And um, I think a lot of it is just playing with that and being invested in learning about that, if that makes sense. As far as like, okay, what are three things that I'm grateful for today? You know, it could be your family, it could be, your friends, or the opportunity you have, or the people around you, or roof over your head. There's a million of them that you could think of. And it's just conditioning your mind in a way to easily access those positive things, because I think at the beginning of my journey, it was hard for me to find super quickly 10 positive things. If you work on anything, the more time you spend recalling and teaching yourself how to recall positive things faster, it becomes habit, and that allows you to be more successful in all facets of life.
You've mentioned affirmations a couple times. I'm curious, have you watched the documentary, or not documentary, I guess, but summary, or read the book The Secret?
I haven't. I've heard it's
Okay, I would highly it's on YouTube. It's the documentary. I haven't read the book, but I've watched the documentary. It's like an hour and a half. It's free on YouTube. Be something you might probably
I'll
be
check
interested,
it
just
out.
based on what you're saying. But question kind of for Adam, actually. You've mentioned daily vitamins. Where did that term come from? I've never heard you say that until we started doing this.
Regs. It's all from Regs.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's from whatever our freshman year at Eckerd, he used to call our infield prep work vitamins. So I've now taken daily vitamins to me as like this simple routines that you do regularly because you take it like a vitamin. You're supposed to do it daily. It's just a part of what you do. And like if you stack that over and over and over again, it leads you to success. And like I don't know if it was that like philosophical for Regs, but you know how I think. So Regs calls it vitamins, and like some people call it dailies, but Regs called them vitamins. So it stuck with me. And then like I started incorporating that into like the writing that I was doing and like the blog that I was working on and the coaching I was doing. And then, now that we're trying to learn from other people, it's just in my vernacular and it's the way I ask the questions now. So you can blame Teddy Regan for why I always talk about daily vitamins.
No, now that you say it, I do remember him saying that. It didn't click in my mind like it clicked on yours. But you're using big words too, trying to make me look dumb here, and I don't like it.
A world renowned, not smart person.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So is it okay? Am I allowed to keep calling them vitamins?
No, you are. I was very, like, you said it multiple times, and I was just very curious. I was like, I've never, like, you sent it in a text one time, and I was like, I have no idea where this came from.
Dude, blame our old salty vet coach. That's
Yeah.
on him, man. But
Hey, he had some zingers.
yeah, of course. Learn a thing or two from that man. Um, Gaige, it's cool to see how positive you are, especially like the growth of it. And like I do think that's a cool perspective to have, like training yourself to like recall these positive affirmations. And I'm even thinking about that for me. Like generally I'm a pretty positive person, but I've never gone through the process of like naming the things that I am grateful for, or like things that I can express gratitude towards. And like even just hearing you say it, like I'm thinking like, huh, should I write that on my calendar just to do as part of my daily? I might do it. It's that's an easy one. Like anybody can do that. Like
Yeah,
that's
it is. And for me, as I've learned more, I have a great mentor in that realm, and his name's Nia Pham, and he's trained a lot of uh, pro athletes and a lot of different, uh, I guess, sports in a way. A lot of fighters. He's worked with a lot of fighters, and I feel like there's nothing more, um, I guess, difficult, or you have to be as ready as possible. Just you versus somebody else physically fighting them. I feel like that's just insanity. And you've got to be ready to go. And he's talked to me a lot about the process of building these, positive thoughts and making your subconscious work for you. Just the way you talk to yourself and all of those things will help you be more successful. And I guess the one that he's really cued me in on is just that in those 30 minutes right after you wake up, that's your best time to reach your subconscious mind. And that's when you can really, if you are writing down a lot of positive stuff and, telling yourself this good story, that starts to be the story that your subconscious is pumping into you throughout the day and over the days and when things are difficult. It's there for you to build you back up. And when you're working for yourself, if that makes sense, like you're working with yourself. A lot of people are working against themselves with just how they're talking to themselves or what they believe or the story that they're saying is going on. And so if you can make, it's almost like two people working towards the same goal if you can have your subconscious on your side, especially as we all know playing, performing at a high level when you're in the box, or you're in a big board meeting, or you have a big meeting or anything like that. That's when the doubt, that's when the insecurity starts to creep in, and that's where you want your subconscious working for you so that you can perform at the highest level.
Yeah, I'm actually probably more obsessed in this space than Adam is, based on my history. I would recommend also look into Joe Dispenza. He's sort of a meditation guy and subconscious mind guy as well. He has a cool story and sort of talks a lot about that. So you'd probably find that interesting because I've heard the 30 minutes. I've also heard the 5 minutes right before bed. If you do something 5 minutes before bed, like you're in a certain state and it gets in your subconscious mind as well. So I've definitely looked into it. I need to dive deeper, definitely on my end. And do you physically write do you
Yeah.
handwrite them? Okay. I've typed them out. Maybe I need to try the actual physical writing because I know there's definitely a difference there.
There's the other
Um,
one that I would do this year. You put on like a affirmations and you just play it while you sleep.
I've done that before. I will warn you, you will wake up in the middle of the night because there is noise playing, but I have done that in the past. Yes.
I love that one. I think it's good. I just put it on real low because I'm like, I know that my mind can hear this, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna let it play and feel good tomorrow. So that's roommates on the road though, they don't love that one. So.
yeah, that's
I'm
gotta be
surprised they don't.
brutal.
Do they force you to put headphones in or you don't care? You're just like, nope, it's
Well,
happening.
it depends. If your buddy went 3 for 4, then yeah, you might have to put headphones in. But if he's coming off an 0 for 4, he might buy in a little bit and start and feeling confident the next day. That's a lot of the ones I do, the confidence affirmations and stuff. Just loop them and throw it in there and just try and get that subconscious working for you, man.
Yep.
Do you record your own voice for that, Gage?
You can, like that's the ones that you can like play in the morning and stuff. I don't have one that I've been able to loop for 8 hours, but I've heard that it's more powerful to for your own voice to say it. So, but yeah, that's something Nia talks about a lot, is just saying it. And it might be like kind of a short thing that you listen to in the morning, or it's just a tool, especially if you have to like get up and go. Sometimes, yes, not every day is it reasonable that, maybe you have a very important call that you get right as you wake up. Yeah, I got to take this call. I'm not, in there meditating and making sure I get all of that done if I've got to take care of business. But, a lot of the days are controllable before you have something. And so just getting up a little bit earlier and making sure you take care of the mental side of things before you get to the physical activity.
How long does that morning routine take for you? Like, what's the kind of time frame, just to give people perspective on like how long you're meditating, how long you're visualizing, just to sort of give them sort of gauges?
Yeah. Probably anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. So I would say, yeah, like if I would wake up, yeah, an hour before I have to like leave, if that makes sense, just so I can get all of that in and then also get myself fed and ready to go and all the stuff I need. But yeah, like 30 to 45 minutes, somewhere in there. And it's just kind
That's
of
a
like
lot.
you said, daily vitamin, right? Like I like to do it even on days when I'm not training, because I'm going to be a better version of Gaige if I'm going to hang out with my little cousins, or if I'm, around my family. Like it's to the point where it's just something that puts me in the right state of mind for, all activities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a lot of personal investment though. Like definitely like 30 to 45 is a good chunk of time. Like, is that where you started? Did you just dive in at that level, or like how'd you scale it?
Yeah, well, at first it was just yoga. I was just committed to doing yoga because I knew it would help my body. It was a lot of it started was like, I'm big into yoga. It releases a lot of like the tension in your body, lets you like kind of relax the muscles or get them to be like more repaired, if that makes sense. Um, and then I would say that led to, then I met with Nia, or it was just kind of building, right? It was like, okay, now I'm gonna write some stuff down. At first I was just like journaling, like I don't know what I'm writing down, if that makes sense. And just was like, all right, I heard journaling's good. And then it was like, okay, affirmations, these things can really help you start to change your subconscious, especially in the morning. So then I built the routine out, and it was like, all right, first I'm going to do affirmations, then I'm going to do my yoga. And then, a little bit goes by, and then I get introduced to creative meditation and visualization, and tried a lot of different creative meditations. Spent months doing multiple different kinds, and then kind of found that for me, like peak performance wise, visualization was, I guess, correlating to the most success. There's like other creative meditations, like you could do like a boardroom creative meditation that I had done for a while, where it's like you have four people that you look up to, and you kind of go into this boardroom and you're like, have this sort of problem or idea that you want perspective on. And so like maybe, Tom Brady's in the room, and for me it was like I had Tom Brady, Kobe, LeBron, and T.O. were in the room, and just to like, these people and like what their perspective might be. Also Dave Roberts in the room. So like kind of get those five guys, and like you kind of know what, like how these people think, and it's in your subconscious. And so you get their perspective, and it's like, well, I should have that perspective, you can. And so it was interesting, like especially having that, like those different types of guys in there. It definitely gives you like a good mindset going into the day. For me, in terms of performing, I realized that like when I would visualize what was going to happen, it would happen.
Wow. That's unique. I don't even know like what else to say. Like this just isn't a realm I've really been exposed to. And it's so weird like for me to say that. I feel like for like how deep all the deep dives I've been on for the human body, but not so much the human mind. Like Banko, I feel like you've done more on this than I have, haven't you?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot more perspective. And honestly, it's kind of funny. I immediately, when you said the boardroom, I thought of two things. The first one, Corey, your wife or fiance, Adam, would love this conversation because has given me exposure to different meditations and
Yeah.
like, what was it?
Corey is the
It's
meadow.
your spirit guide. And there's like a YouTube that you like, it's a 27-minute, it's like literally like meeting your spirit guide, them taking you and like guiding you, can ask them questions, stuff like that. So that's where my mind immediately went. But then I bring this guy up every podcast, but Alex Ramosi, he is a business entrepreneur guy. He basically worth a bunch of money. He's in private equity now, but everyone's like, how do you sort of mentally sort of work through things? And he's like, you usually go to mentors, you talk to different people, but you usually know the answer. Like you were saying, like what they're going to say, but your subconscious mind also knows kind of the answer already. You just have to get it out. And what he does is he has a Google Doc and he literally writes to his 85-year-old self. So he has a perspective from himself currently and writes what he wants to write to his 85-year-old self, and then switches his mind to what the 85-year-old self person would say. And he literally writes it out in a Google Doc, like types it out, has a conversation with his future self to sort of get that out of his head. So that's where my mind went with that as well. But you're right, there's so many different meditations out there, and I've tried a bunch of them too, and it's person to person, and what works for you and what actually helps you is a huge thing to figure out. And I think a lot of people that get into meditation give up too early because they're like, oh, this doesn't work for me, and they just kind of give up because they haven't tried. There's a bunch of variations. I mean, the other one I've heard of is you don't actually have to close your eyes. You can literally go on a walk, don't have headphones in, don't have your phone, keep it in your pocket or leave it at home, and observe nature. Just observe nature and let your mind run. Like that's a type of meditation that people don't understand. Yeah, that's you, Adam.
Yeah, the silent walk. I'm a big
Yes.
fan of the silent walk. I did that around St. Pete for 2 hours last night. I just I just walked. I just left the apartment and just went. And like some of it's because of the comfort of where I am, but like there's just so much you can observe and like become a part of your surroundings. Like that to me is when like I let my guard down. Like that is like some of the most peace I feel. And it's when I do my best thinking is like I'm like loosely active. Like I'm just walking around like so my body's engaged and then it just like allows my mind to wander. And with that, I feel like I wrote down like 3 different things in my calendar for like projects that I'm like taking on for like Flex Pro Grip this year that I thought of all last night, like just going for a walk. Like I'm a big fan of the silent walk. And like thanks for saying it's meditation because now I feel better. But that's my go-to.
Well, I was going to mention, Adam, and I have you heard of? I got to look up what the challenge is called, but I think it's just called the 12-hour walk challenge. Basically, the whole premise behind it is, and there's an app for it and everything. Like, don't bring your phone, no technology, commit one whole day and go walk for 12 hours, no technology, no distractions, and go walk for 12 hours and let your mind just wander.
Yeah, I've looked into it. I've never done like the full 12 hours, but I do appreciate immensely about the guy who like kind of like built the perspective around the 12-hour walk is he also says like the 12-hour walk is more of like a mindset or a personal journey. So like you can do a 12-hour walk from like a front porch swing or like a stool in front of your house. Like you don't actually have to be walking for all 12 hours, but it's the willingness to renounce like the cell phone or outside noise. So you do have to make some sacrifices ahead of time and maybe let some people know you're not going to be accessible. But like what you can gain from that is I think it's immensely powerful because like one, you're learning the power of like what you have in here, but two, it's also like opening your eyes to like what's around you. And that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, I mentioned I actually did try it. It is definitely challenging, and walking for 12 hours, like, yeah, you can sit down, but like you kind of get bored, so you do continue to walk. It's tiring. Like you walk far. So just be prepared when you ever do try to do it. But yeah, no, I think I could go on a rabbit hole about this, but I don't want to sort of take that time away from you, Gage. So go ahead. You look like you want to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting you talking about the like Google Doc to his 85-year-old self. I found that that's like very similar to one of the premises of like some of the mental work I do, which is like a role model mindset, something more I've adopted like this off season, and something that I think has been super powerful in terms of just, daily decision making. And a lot of it is like having a role model mindset where it's like, if my future kids were watching me, or if my younger self or older self, like how would I handle this situation, or how would I handle, the cards that I have, and what would my process be? And I feel like that's very similar in a way to what he's saying, and so that kind of just to me like seemed connected in a way.
Yeah, no doubt. So you mentioned Nia fam. Is it he, she? I don't
He
know. He, okay. Um, do they have like books or anything like that, or like any training, or is it just like kind of one-on-one coaching? How did that relationship kind of form for you?
So he is a personal trainer, has his own facility in Forest Ranch. And I work out at DBC San Diego. I have my own trainer, Casey Parlett. He's awesome. Um, and I started seeing Nia through the outfield coordinator for the Dodgers. He used to train with Nia, and he just told me about like his amazing mental stuff. And Nia used to train like Matt Kemp and Nick Hundley, Austin Barnes, some big leaguers, and so, as well as like other sports, some NFL players and stuff. And so I went in and just met with Nia and said like, hey, I'd love to learn about like the mental side and like the stuff that you coach on, and just kind of started with just some simple exercises. And then, he's always sending me like podcasts or videos or things to watch. And um just kind of like we built a relationship where we're, meeting once a week. Last off season we met like once a week, and now with my schedule and like if certain things come up, we'll get together, at least twice a month, hopefully more. Just depends on what's, how his schedule looks and whatnot. But once you kind of get the roots, it's really a personal journey like into your own like mindset and mentality, and you have to put in the work, right? You can't just go see somebody and they're gonna, show you how to do it, if that makes sense. But he's definitely a good reference point for me, and it just was a slow build of positive thinking, if that makes sense. And
No,
talking to yourself like not out of a place of lack, but out of a place of strength and things of that nature.
yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And I think a big point you make there is it's up to you. It's you to take action, you to actually act upon it. Because I mean, yeah, it's great. You read these books, you watch these videos, but if you actually don't take action and commit to doing the things that these people are teaching, you're not gonna get the benefit out of it. And that was a hard piece for me initially, because I definitely I my parents would laugh. I read a lot now. I did not read in school. I was the kid that got the little notes online, and that's how I took tests, and it worked. I was not going to read books, but now I've definitely read a lot more books, and that's the biggest thing, like taking action. And like I think that's a big key that a lot of people miss is you actually have to perform the things that they're saying in these books to get the benefit and see the benefit and learn what works for you. So I think that was a good point you made there.
Yeah, discipline, right? Same thing as the discipline, because you're not going to want to do it every day. So you got to just do it.
Yep.
And you'll thank yourself later.
So I don't have like I could definitely talk about this kind of stuff all day, and like we'll definitely bring you back on, Gage, but I don't like we've been going for a little over an hour and a half now. I don't have any more questions just because I don't want to extend this longer, and we can kind of bring you back. It's definitely been a long day for both me and Adam, and you as well. You were training. I mean, I guess I would leave it as, do you have anything that you would kind of want to close out on that we didn't touch on? Anything that you kind of want to mention? Anything like that?
No, I mean, I enjoyed, thank you guys for having me on. It was cool to talk about this stuff. I wasn't, when you guys reached out, I wasn't sure what we'd even really talk about, but we found plenty. So that was an enjoyable experience, and thank you guys. I appreciate it.
No, I
Definitely, man.
appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Of course, you and I have a relationship that I value immensely, and I'm glad Banko gets to share in that now too.
Yes, yes, me too. Nice to meet you, Banko, and always thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we'll keep in
like
touch.
like Banko said, we're definitely going to bring you back on, and I'll try to keep in touch with you on how I do with these morning affirmations. But
Okay, yeah, let me know, man. Well, we always stay in touch anyway, so
yeah,
but yeah, good. Yeah, it was awesome. So thank you guys.
thanks, Gaige. We'll see you.
Hi everyone, Grant here. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you could like, share, and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you think you or someone you know has a good life story to tell, we are always open to guest suggestions. You can send those suggestions to our email, tworkpod@gmail.com. Thanks again for the support.